A few months back. It was a song by Jamila Woods, and it was simply called Holy. I listened to this song, and even knowing that I was preparing the sermon and knowing the words that I had already written down, or at least typed, thinking about these principles that I am the expression of the divine. We are supposed to be that reflection, like in a mirror, of what is divine, of what is God, of what is holy. Even listening to this and assuming that it was speaking to me, it caused me a little bit of discomfort. Am I really worthy? Do I really believe that? But I wanted to share that discomfort is the product of the pieces that are still not healed, because in my belief system, I am worthy. This sermon happened because of a conversation I had a few weeks ago. Someone asked me if I was perfect. And I said, I can't answer that question without understanding what you mean by perfect. I went on to share that I have a hard time with that vocabulary now, and that I no longer use that kind of vocabulary when I'm talking to myself. As I was explaining, I'm growing to a place in my thinking and in my language with myself, and I thought about us. I thought about church. And I questioned, am I leading my life and living my life by my spiritual foundation? Or is this simply a product of my ego, my pain, my damaged parts? You see, what I explained was that perfect or better would require me to compare myself to something, to some standard, to some person, to something, to some expectation from some force outside of myself. And I explained that my standards have changed. As I learned more about the behaviors in my own life that was a part of creating the trauma within, that expressed itself in me not being able to live the love on the outside. I explained that I no longer use the better, worst standard. I'm no longer trying to be better, because that forced me to make a self-judgment on the balancing scale of better or worst, or better and best. Instead, I shared my newly emerging standard is, how close to completely honest am I? And how close to love is that reflection I see in the mirror in my life? I explained that when I use this questioning instead of judgment of good or bad, I'm asking if I am the loving part of me that is pure and true. He continued to press the point. And finally, with a little bit of exhaustion, maybe even in my tone, but definitely in my spirit, I asked him, why isn't me just being Lorana enough? Why do I need adjectives, titles, explanations, or justifications? I don't need to be the best Lorana, because you see, I am always doing my best to be the loving person. But even in moments when I am not in the most loving expression of Lorana, guess what? I'm still all fully and wholly Lorana. I am. On my worst day, that too is my honest expression of who I am. I explained, I'm always Lorana. Whatever you may see, whether it be good or bad. Not only or just Lorana, I am simply Lorana. I am. And I am is what we are called to be. We're told in the spiritual traditions that engulf all of us, even though all of our beliefs may be different, we're called to being. And we are told that our existence is. In the spirit of Charlie, my dad, He would say, if I woke up today, it's on purpose. I am supposed to be here. It's up to me to figure out the why, but I am in existence, and that is enough to make me worthy. What if I am was the standard instead of being best or better or perfect? But does accepting our inherent worthiness make us feel guilty? It did a little bit for me. Do I need to be something more? Let's be real. In life, we're all something more. We're mothers and sisters and daughters and friends and sons and brothers and spouses and employees and grandparents and confidants and advisors. We're a lot of things, but are we okay also with simply being the I am? Well, in society's eyes, nope, that might not be good enough. I need to be something. Maybe in your life it was I needed to be successful, or I needed to be devoted, or I needed to be talented, or I needed to be proficient, or I needed to be competent, or I needed to be wealthy, or I needed to not be poor. The outside world needed you to be many things, but in our spiritual world, in our church, the network of folks committed to being their truth and being love, is I am LaRonna enough? Every part of my life is me. On my good days, yep, that's LaRonna. On my not so good days, yep, still LaRonna. I am should be good enough. But sometimes my mind goes sideways, and I said, let me see if this aligns with my spiritual beliefs. I said, well, I'm part Christian, a little bit sometimes. In John 8:58 and 59, it says, verily I say, I tell you, and this was Jesus talking. He said, before Abraham was born, I am. I find a little tidbit, historical tidbit, 59 says, and at this, they picked up stones to stone him, but Jesus hid himself, slipping away from the temple grounds. I said, since I'm part Christian, I guess I'm taught to be like Jesus. And he tells us we each are the I am. Side note, also sometimes admitting it out loud requires you to dip and run. Don't miss the lessons. But I'm also some days, sometimes part Buddhist. And the principle of Anatam tells me that I am every changing existence. And even the use of the term I and you imply a fixed existence that is never fixed, but always ever changing. And so since I am part Buddhist, I am at any and every changing moment is the only reality that can be captured accurately. Because 5 minutes from now, my I am will be changed by my mere existence. I'm also sometimes maybe part Taoist. And Taoism disavows a hierarchical view of self and society or cosmos. Taoism doesn't regard the self as an extension of and defined by social relationship. Rather, the self is but one of the countless manifestations of the Tao, of what is divine, of spirit, of God that can't be defined. It's an extension of the cosmos. Since I am part Taoist, I am is the broadest representation of my beingness. And I could go on because I am part lots of things. But I'm convinced that my spiritual foundation is guiding my belief system that states that I am is good enough. What about you? Is I am good enough for you? I don't have an answer for you, but the answer for me is I am. I am LaRonna, and being the I am of LaRonna is good enough.